We start in Afghanistan, where the city of Mazar-i-Sharif has been captured by the Taliban. It was the government's last northern stronghold. The Taliban now control more than two-thirds of the country. You can see those areas in red. The yellow areas are still contested, and the small patch of blue is what remains in the hands of the Afghan government. The Taliban's rapid advance comes less than 3 weeks before the United States is set to withdraw its last troops and is raising fears of a full takeover by the insurgents. And for more on what's happening in Afghanistan, we are joined now by Omar Samad. He's a former senior advisor to the chief executive of Afghanistan and the former Afghan ambassador to Canada and France. Mr. Samad, thanks so much for joining us today. The Taliban have tightened their grip on Afghanistan at a frightening pace. Is the capital, Kabul, likely to fall, and what will that mean for the nation?
Yes, so I think this is what's called a blitzkrieg, a very fast progress towards cities, capturing cities one after the other, mostly without much fighting going on, either surrendering or fleeing, or deals being made between authorities and officials from governors and police chiefs and others. But your question about Kabul, it all depends on the decision that will be taken in Kabul by President Ashraf Ghani and his team of close advisors. Today they met. Apparently the president is not still ready to step down in order to pave the way for an interim government, a transitional period for Afghanistan that would probably save Kabul from any types of attack. The Taliban don't seem to want to attack from what we hear. But if they are left with no other options, they might use other means. Other cities fell with almost no shooting going on, very little casualties. Kabul is going to be different. And there's also Jalalabad in the east that also is an issue right now.
Would you say that the abruptness of the U.S. withdrawal, started by Donald Trump, continued by U.S. President Joe Biden, contributed to the speed of the Afghan collapse to the Taliban that we're witnessing right now?
Well, some people would call it abruptness that has lasted 3.5 years. Others would call it a 20-year mission that went on for too long, could not accomplish all its goals. Made some gains. There were some positive things that happened in the past 20 years for the Afghan people. Overall, I think that we ended up with a corrupt government that was out of touch and disconnected from its people. I think that we hurt the Afghan people quite a bit as well along the way, and we let corruption take over. At the same time, the Taliban took advantage of this vacuum and these disenfranchisement and dissatisfaction and became emboldened. And they had support, of course, in the region as well. And now we are where we are after 20 years of a mission and 3 years after starting a peace process.
Now, the vast majority of Afghans who are fleeing this conflict are women and children. We're hearing talk of a humanitarian crisis. Can you describe to us the dangers that women and children in particular are facing?
I hope that we will not face a humanitarian crisis. I hope that on one hand, with 80-90% of the country now under Taliban, that they will treat Afghans humanely, that they will abide by laws, that they will make sure that their core human rights are protected. At the same time, we need to make sure that the Afghans who have been displaced from a few provinces are going to receive assistance. The international community needs to still be committed to Afghanistan, especially on the humanitarian side from now on. And I think that this is an opportunity to see how Afghans can re-own their own country and rebuild their own country to the extent that they can. And hopefully the international community can assist as well. For that to happen, we first need a political settlement.
There have been peace talks going on between the Afghan government and the Taliban in Qatar. They remain stalled. Do you think that they have a future? Is a peaceful resolution possible at all?
Well, I think that that particular process is still valid and could be of help if, depending on what happens in Kabul again. So if in Kabul we have a series of decisions that will lead to a transition, then the transition may decide that Afghan negotiations need to start in earnest, not like the way we have seen it happen over the last couple of years. That real negotiations between the Taliban and all Afghans, maybe minus Mr. Ghani, will happen. And that if that is the case, maybe the venue will change from Doha to Afghanistan. And so the Afghans will sit down in their own country and discuss the future political and economic and social order.
Omar Samad, the former senior advisor to the chief executive of Afghanistan and former Afghan ambassador to Canada and France. Thank you so much for your time.